All right, so today we're diving into a story that I think really gripped the nation's attention.
Yeah.
The disappearance and thankfully return of 14-year-old Emmarae Gervasi.
Right.
You've shared some news articles with me
Yeah.
that detail the timeline of events, the family's desperate search, and the eventual arrest of a suspect.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster, so let's unpack this together.
Yeah, and I think what makes this case so fascinating is you see this intersection of traditional investigative techniques with that power of social media and community involvement.
Right, and it all starts on December 9th in East Patchogue, Long Island.
Right.
Emmarae vanishes from right outside her home.
Yeah.
And the articles mention that she was last seen getting into a dark-colored vehicle without a coat or shoes.
Yeah.
Does that strike you as odd at all?
It definitely raises questions.
Right.
Was this a planned meeting? Was there coercion? Or was she running away?
Right.
Was she pressured into this? Was she unprepared?
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of necessities, coat, shoes, all that stuff. Yeah. It kind of suggests hasty departure.
It does.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, to make things even more puzzling, there's security footage of her knocking on doors at a motel the next day.
Right. Right.
So what could have been happening in those crucial hours?
Yeah, that's a critical gap for sure in the timeline.
Yeah.
One theory, and that's based on her father's statements. Maybe she left willingly,
Yep.
but then she becomes afraid to return home.
Okay.
Maybe something happened at the motel
Yeah.
that made her realize, oh, this situation's a little more dangerous than I anticipated.
Right. And then we have the family's response, especially Mary's father, Frank.
Yes.
The guy was tireless.
Yeah.
Following every lead, working closely with the police, organizing searches, even offering a $10,000 reward.
I mean, his actions speak to the desperation of any parent would feel in that kind of situation. He was just determined to leave no stone unturned.
Right.
And he was using every tool at his disposal, including social media. Mm-hmm.
And he leveraged that masterfully
He did.
to spread awareness and, rally support.
That's true. He really understood the power of the internet and used it to his advantage.
He did.
But it's interesting, though, because social media, while it can be a powerful tool in missing person cases,
Right.
it also has its downsides, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the potential for misinformation spreading like wildfire.
Oh, totally.
The risk of online harassment directed at the family.
Oh, yeah?
And even the possibility of, attracting individuals who might want to exploit the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. How does that play into the anonymous tip that ultimately led to Emmarae's rescue?
Right.
Do you think that came through social media?
It's possible because Frank was posting regularly,
Right.
Urging anyone with information to come forward.
Right.
That kind of direct appeal can be so effective.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, the tip led Frank to a boat in Islip,
Right.
a location seemingly unconnected to any previous lead. You're right. And that's where it gets really interesting.
It does.
After 26 agonizing days, Frank, guided by that tip, finds Emmarae himself,
Wow.
even before the police arrive.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that moment?
Oh, it's just hard to fathom the
Yeah.
mix of relief and joy and disbelief.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, he was quoted as saying, it was the end of 26 days of hell seeing her alive in my arms.
Wow.
Those words are heart-wrenching.
They are. It really speaks to the emotional roller coaster
It does.
this entire ordeal must have been for him.
Absolutely. But let's delve a bit deeper into those anonymous tips for a moment.
Okay.
While they can be, crucial in cracking cases like this,
Yeah.
they also present unique challenges for investigators.
Such as.
Well, for one, verifying the credibility of the source
Right.
and the information itself.
Right.
Is it a genuine lead or is it a prank? Is there an ulterior motive?
Yeah.
And then there's this delicate balance between protecting the anonymity of the tipster while ensuring a thorough investigation.
It's tricky.
It is.
Those are all excellent points. It makes you wonder about the legal and ethical implications
Exactly.
of relying on these anonymous tips in such high-stakes situations.
Right.
But for now, let's shift our focus to the suspect in this case.
Okay.
The articles identify him as 65-year-old Francis Buckheit.
Right.
He's been arrested and is facing some serious charges: rape, kidnapping, and acting in a manner injurious to a child.
Right.
Okay, so let's break that last one down a bit.
Right.
What exactly does acting in a manner injurious to a child mean legally?
So it's a legal term that encompasses a wide range of actions
Okay.
that could, physically, mentally, or emotionally harm a minor.
Right.
It could include things like neglect, abuse, exposure to dangerous situations,
Okay.
or even providing them with illegal substances.
Okay.
It's designed to be broad to protect children
Right.
from various forms of harm.
That makes sense. Now, it's important to remember that Buckheit has pleaded not guilty to all charges. But if these accusations are true, we're talking about a truly horrific crime.
We are.
It's unsettling to think about what Emmarae may have endured during those 26 days.
Yeah, it's disturbing, especially considering that, he allegedly held her captive on a boat.
Right.
It raises questions about how he was able to keep her hidden for so long.
Mhm.
Were there any missed opportunities to
Yeah.
locate her sooner?
Right.
Well-
It makes you wonder about the details surrounding her captivity.
Exactly.
Was she alone on the boat the whole time?
Right.
How did he manage to keep her presence a secret?
Right.
What, if any, interactions did they have during that period?
Right.
All these questions that investigators are going to need to answer.
They are.
And while the legal process unfolds, it's crucial that we also acknowledge Emmarae's journey towards recovery.
Yes.
The physical and emotional trauma she's experienced must be immense.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another key point.
Okay.
The importance of providing Emmarae with the support and care she needs to heal. The articles mention she's in a facility,
Right.
hopefully receiving that specialized treatment
Right.
for the trauma she's experienced.
Yeah, and that support should extend, beyond just professional help.
Absolutely.
She needs a strong network of, family, friends, therapists
Right.
who can help her process this ordeal and rebuild her life.
I agree.
This case is a stark reminder that the impact of these events goes far beyond the immediate crisis.
It does.
It's about ensuring the victim's long-term well-being,
Yes.
both physically and emotionally.
And it's about understanding that trauma can manifest in many ways. And healing takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes a tailored approach that addresses the individual's specific needs.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered quite a bit of ground here.
We have.
We've explored the initial disappearance,
Right.
the frantic search efforts,
Yes.
the power and pitfalls of social media, that a crucial anonymous tip, the emotional roller coaster experienced by Emmarae's family, and the complexities of these legal charges against the suspect. But there's still so much more to unpack.
Oh, there is.
And in the next part of our deep dive,
Yes.
we'll delve into the psychological aspects of this case.
Absolutely.
We'll explore the potential motives behind these alleged crimes
Right.
and discuss the broader implications for child safety and community awareness.
I'm ready.
Stay with us, because this conversation is far from over.
I'm here. As we dig deeper into Emmarae's story, I can't help but think about the psychological toll
Yeah,
this ordeal must taken on her.
of course.
We often focus on the physical aspects of abduction,
Right.
but the mental and emotional scars can be just as profound.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Being held captive,
Yeah.
isolated from loved ones, living in constant fear.
Exactly.
It's hard to even fathom the impact on a young person's psyche.
We're talking about potential anxiety, depression, PTSD,
Right.
maybe even a distorted sense of trust and safety.
Yeah.
These are complex issues that require, specialized care and long-term support.
Absolutely. And it's not just Emmarae who's affected.
Right.
Her family, especially her father. Frank has been through an emotional ringer.
Yeah.
Remember those chilling phone calls he received?
Oh, yeah.
Where he believed he heard Emmarae saying, "I love you"?
Right. Those calls just add a whole other layer
Yeah.
to the psychological complexity of this case.
Totally.
Was it really her?
Right.
Was she being forced to make those calls?
Yeah.
Or was it someone impersonating her voice?
Right.
Intentionally tormenting the family?
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
It makes you wonder about the suspect's motives.
Right.
If those calls were a deliberate act of manipulation,
Yeah.
what does that tell us about his psychological state?
Well, it would suggest a level of cruelty,
Right.
a desire to exert control even beyond the act of abduction itself.
Yeah.
It's a disturbing pattern that we see in cases like this,
Mm.
involving the exploitation of vulnerable individuals.
And speaking of the suspect,
Mm-hmm.
the articles don't reveal much about Francis Buckheit.
Not a lot. No.
We know he's 65 years old,
Right.
has access to a boat,
Right.
and faces serious charges.
Yeah.
But what else can we kind of piece together?
Yeah.
What kind of profile
Mm-hmm.
might fit someone who would commit such an act?
It's dangerous to speculate,
Yeah, of course.
but we can look to general patterns in similar cases.
Sure.
Often perpetrators of these types of crimes exhibit certain traits, a lack of empathy,
Right.
a need for power and control,
Mm-hmm.
a tendency to manipulate and exploit others.
So someone who preys on vulnerability
Exactly.
rather than someone who is driven by like a sudden impulse.
Exactly. It's often a calculated act,
Okay.
carefully planned and executed to minimize risk and maximize control.
Wow, that's a sobering thought.
It is.
Makes you realize that these predators, they often operate under the radar,
Yeah, they do.
appearing perfectly normal
Right.
while harboring these dark intentions.
And that's the really scary part.
It is.
And it highlights the importance of being aware
Yeah.
of the subtle signs of grooming behavior
Right.
and understanding how these individuals gain trust
Right.
and manipulate their victims.
It's a reminder that education and awareness are key
Absolutely.
to prevention.
Yeah.
But for now, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Talk about the community response to Emmarae's disappearance.
Right.
It seemed like everyone rallied around the family.
Yeah, you see that outpouring of support in a lot of these missing person cases.
Yeah.
It's that human instinct to come together in times of crisis,
Yeah.
to offer hope and solidarity
Yeah.
to those who are suffering.
It's beautiful in a way.
It is, and in Emmarae's case, it was truly remarkable.
The articles mention the use of cadaver dogs,
Yeah,
helicopters,
right.
countless volunteers just scouring the area.
It was a massive coordinated effort.
It was, and don't forget the role of social media.
Oh, right.
Frank Gervasi used it brilliantly.
He did.
To amplify those search efforts, reach a wider audience,
Yeah.
maintain a constant stream of updates.
Yep, it was a prime example
Yeah.
of how technology can be leveraged for
Yeah.
good in these situations.
But you mentioned earlier, social media can be a double-edged sword.
It can.
What are some of the potential pitfalls we need to be aware of?
Well, think about the spread of misinformation.
Right.
For example,
Okay.
a well-intentioned post
Yeah.
could inadvertently lead search efforts in the wrong direction
Right.
or even jeopardize the investigation.
Oh, wow.
Then there's the issue of online harassment
Right.
and vigilantism.
Yeah. I can see how that could happen.
Yeah, people get emotionally invested.
Yeah.
Sometimes those emotions spill over into anger and blame,
Totally.
even targeting innocent individuals.
Right.
It can create a chaotic and distracting online environment that
Right.
hinders rather than helps
Right.
the search efforts.
So what can we learn from Emmarae's case
Right,
about the effective use of social media in these cases?
right.
Are there like best practices or guidelines?
Yeah, I think a key takeaway
Okay.
is the importance of having like a designated spokesperson who manages all communications,
Right.
ensuring accuracy and consistency.
Okay.
It's also crucial to verify information before sharing it.
Right.
Stick to the facts,
Mm.
avoid speculation or
Yeah.
inflammatory language.
Those are great points.
Yeah,
It's about striking that balance
it is.
between harnessing the power of social media for good
Right.
while mitigating the potential risks and negative consequences.
Exactly. And let's not forget the importance of protecting the privacy
Oh, of course.
and dignity of the missing person.
Right.
Even in our eagerness to help,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of the potential long-term impact
Yeah.
of sharing sensitive information online.
You're right. That's a crucial point. And it brings us back to Emmarae
Yes,
and that long road to recovery that lies ahead.
it does.
The physical and emotional scars of this ordeal
Yeah,
will likely take time
right.
and specialized care to heal.
Absolutely. And let's not underestimate the impact on her family as well.
Right?
They've endured, weeks of agonizing uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
followed by that intense relief of her return.
Yeah.
And now that complex process of supporting her through her recovery.
Right.
It's a journey that requires resilience,
Mhm.
compassion,
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of the complexities of trauma.
And it underscores the importance of providing comprehensive support services.
Yes.
Not just to victims, but to their families as well.
I agree.
They need access to therapy, counseling, support groups, resources that can help them navigate the challenges of healing,
Right.
rebuilding their lives.
One thing that often gets overlooked in these discussions,
What's
that's the financial burden
Oh, yeah.
that families face during and after an abduction.
Oh, right.
Think about the lost wages,
Right.
legal fees, travel expenses,
Yeah.
the cost associated with ongoing care.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It's not just the emotional and psychological impact,
Right.
but also the practical realities
Exactly.
of navigating the aftermath of such a traumatic event.
Exactly. And it highlights the need for financial assistance,
Yeah.
support systems that can alleviate some of that burden,
Yeah.
allow families to focus on their loved one's recovery.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've delved into the psychological aspects of the case,
Yeah.
explored the potential motives of the suspect, discussed the power and pitfalls of social media,
Yes.
emphasized the importance of comprehensive support
Right.
for both victims and their families. But as we approach the end of our deep dive,
Okay.
there's one more piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
that we need to examine, the legal ramifications of this case.
Right. We've talked about the charges against Francis Buckheit, rape, kidnapping, and acting in a manner injurious to a child.
Right.
But what does the legal process look like from here? Right.
How will the prosecution build its case? What kind of defense might Buckheit's attorneys present?
Yeah.
These are all questions that will be answered in the courtroom.
And those answers will have far-reaching implications.
They will.
Not just for Emmarae and her family, but for the entire community.
Absolutely. The outcome of this case will set a precedent,
Right.
shaping how future cases of child abduction are handled,
Right.
and potentially influencing legislation aimed at protecting vulnerable individuals.
It's a reminder that the justice system plays a crucial role,
It does.
not only in punishing wrongdoing,
Right.
but also restoring public trust, promoting a sense of safety and accountability.
And that, in essence, is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
To seek justice for Emmarae, to hold those responsible accountable for their actions,
Right.
and to ensure that the lessons learned from this case
Yeah.
contribute to a safer and more vigilant community for all children.
Yeah.
It's very well said.
Yeah.
So we talked about, Emmarae's journey in the community, but I keep coming back to the legal side of things.
Right.
Francis Buckheit facing some serious charges.
He is.
And the outcome of this case
Right.
could have ripple effects on future child abduction cases.
It could.
What are your thoughts on all this?
It's a pivotal case for sure. The prosecution will need to build a strong case, relying on evidence, witness testimonies, potentially expert analysis to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
They'll likely focus on the details of the abduction,
Right.
Emmarae's captivity, and any evidence that links Buckheit to the crime scene or to those chilling phone calls Frank received.
And what about Buckheit's defense? What kind of strategy might they employ here?
It's hard to say for sure, but they could challenge the validity of the evidence. They could question the credibility of the witnesses or even suggest alternative explanations for Emmarae's disappearance. They might argue that she ran away willingly or that someone else was responsible for her abduction.
Right. And that's where those anonymous tips become even more crucial.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
If the defense tries to cast doubt on the circumstances of her disappearance,
Right.
having that solid evidence, those credible witnesses,
It does.
becomes even more important.
Absolutely. And the prosecution's going to need to carefully vet those tips, ensuring their reliability, tracing them back to the source.
Right, because the defense will scrutinize every detail.
Oh, yeah.
Look for any inconsistencies or weaknesses they can exploit.
Right? It's complex.
It makes you realize just how complex and meticulous these legal proceedings can be.
They are.
It's not just about presenting the facts.
Yeah.
It's about anticipating the opposing arguments.
Exactly.
Crafting a persuasive narrative.
It is.
That resonates with the jury.
It's a battle of strategies, evidence, and ultimately storytelling.
Yeah.
And the stakes are so high.
We're talking about justice for Emmarae.
Right.
Holding the perpetrator accountable. Potentially preventing future tragedies.
Right. And it's not just about legal precedent.
Right.
The outcome of this case.
Right.
It's going to send a message to the community.
Right.
A conviction could provide a sense of closure and reassurance.
Yeah.
While an acquittal might leave some lingering doubts and a sense of unease.
It's a powerful reminder that the justice system plays a crucial role.
It does.
Not only in punishing wrongdoing, but also restoring that public trust.
Yes.
Promoting that sense of safety and accountability.
Right, but let's not forget that Emmarae's story is more than just a legal case.
Right.
It's a human story, a story of resilience, courage, and the enduring power of hope.
Despite the trauma she's endured, Emmarae has shown incredible strength.
She has.
Her recovery is going to be a long and challenging journey.
Yeah.
But with the right support and care,
right,
there's every reason to believe she can heal and thrive.
I believe that.
And her story serves as a powerful reminder to all of us.
It does.
A reminder to be vigilant, to listen to our instincts, to speak up if we see something that just seems amiss.
Yes. We all have a role to play in creating safer communities.
We do.
For children.
Well said.
Thank you.
So as we reach the end of our deep dive into this complex, emotionally charged case, what is the one takeaway that you hope our listeners will carry with them?
I think this Emmarae story is a stark reminder of the darkness that exists in our world, but it also highlights the power of human resilience, the importance of community action, and the unwavering determination to seek justice for those who've been harmed.
And it underscores that enduring hope that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, healing is possible.
It is.
A brighter future can emerge.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.